Right now, somewhere in the Caribbean, a ship the size of a small city is moving through the ocean at 22 knots. It has 20 decks, 6,000 passengers, 40 restaurants, a water park, an ice skating rink, a Broadway theater that seats 4,400 people, and it cost $2 billion to build. But here's what nobody tells you about that ship, or any cruise ship on any ocean right now. The person who owns it is almost never who you think it is, and the way they make money from it is almost never what you assume. There are 5 types of cruise ship owners in America. One of them runs day trips on a boat small enough to dock at a marina. One of them sells apartments on a ship where people actually live permanently. Not for a week, not for a vacation, forever. One of them owns a brand name you recognize instantly, but has never once set foot on any of the ships carrying that name. And one of them controls 3 of the biggest cruise lines simultaneously, and most passengers have no idea they are all owned by the same company. 5 types, 5 completely different businesses. One ocean. Here is how each one actually works. Type 1, the charter captain. Every major coastal city in America has one. Miami, Seattle, Galveston, Juneau. This is the entry point of cruise ship ownership, and it looks nothing like the billion-dollar vessels you see on travel brochures. The charter captain owns a small passenger vessel, anywhere from 12 to 150 passengers. Day trips, weekend excursions, private charters for corporate events, fishing tours, whale-watching routes off the Alaska coastline. The boat itself costs between $200,000 and $2 million depending on size and condition, a number that sounds significant until you price it against every other type of owner on this list. Here's the business model in its simplest form. A charter captain running a 49-passenger vessel in a high-traffic tourist market charges $80 to $150 per person per trip, 2 trips per day, 6 days a week, at 80% capacity, through a 7-month operating season in a northern market that is somewhere between $400,000 and $700,000 in gross seasonal revenue. After fuel, crew, dock fees, Coast Guard inspections, insurance, and maintenance, the operator typically clears $80,000 to $180,000 in personal income. Not glamorous, but structurally resilient in a way the larger tiers are not. When a global pandemic shuts down international cruise travel for 18 months, as happened in 2020 and 2021, the charter captain loses a season. The mega ship exec loses billions of dollars and nearly loses the company. Scale creates exposure that the small operator never has to carry. The ceiling is real. You will never become Royal Caribbean running day fishing trips out of Galveston, but you will also never wake up in March 2020 with a $12 billion debt load and a fleet of ships that legally cannot operate. Type 2, the luxury boutique owner. Now the model changes entirely, and the passenger count goes down while the revenue per passenger goes dramatically up. The luxury boutique owner operates ships carrying 200 to 750 passengers at price points that most people associate with private jets, not ocean travel, Viking Cruises, Silver Sea, Regent 7 Seas, Seabourn. These are not cruise lines competing for the family with 2 kids and a budget. They are competing for the retired couple with $400,000, sitting in a brokerage account who wants every meal included, every shore excursion covered, and a butler who learns their coffee order by day 2. 7 Seas Explorer, operated by Regent 7 Seas Cruises, cost $450 million to build for a ship carrying just 750 guests. That is $600,000 in construction cost per passenger berth. The most expensive cruise ship per passenger ever built at its launch. The top suite on that ship, the Regent Suite, runs $11,000 per night. Here is the number that defines this ownership tier. The average revenue per passenger per day on a mainstream cruise line like Carnival runs approximately $180 to $220. On a luxury line like Silver Sea or Regent, that same number runs $600 to $1,200 per passenger per day. The luxury boutique owner is carrying 1/10 the passengers of a megaship and generating 3 to 6 times the revenue per person on board. The risk at this tier is customer dependency on a narrow demographic. Luxury cruise customers skew older. Average age on most luxury lines is 55 to 70. That demographic is loyal and high spending, but it does not grow. The luxury boutique owner who does not figure out how to attract a younger, affluent traveler without alienating their existing base is managing a slow demographic cliff, not a growing business. Viking has solved this better than most. Their river and ocean cruise model has attracted younger professional travelers in a way traditional luxury lines have not, which is why Viking went public on the US stock exchange in May 2024 at a valuation exceeding $11 billion. Type 3, the mega ship exec. This is the owner most people picture when they think about the cruise industry, and the reality of how this business actually works is more complicated than it looks from the outside. Carnival Corporation is the largest cruise company on Earth. It owns Carnival Cruise Line, Princess Cruises, Holland America, Cunard, Costa Cruises, Ida, and Seabourn, 9 distinct brands operating across every major ocean market simultaneously. Royal Caribbean Group owns Royal Caribbean International, Celebrity Cruises, and Silversea. Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings owns Norwegian, Oceania, and Regent Seven Seas, 3 companies, covering the vast majority of global cruise capacity. And here's what makes this ownership tier structurally unlike anything else in American business. The product never stops moving. A hotel stands still, a restaurant stays in one city. A cruise ship is a revenue-generating asset that is physically in motion 365 days a year, repositioning between markets, chasing summer in Alaska and winter in the Caribbean, never sitting idle if the operator is running the schedule correctly. Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas launched in January 2024 at a cost of $2 billion, carries 7,600 passengers at full capacity. At an average ticket price of $200 per person per day on a 7-day sailing, that single ship generates approximately $10.6 million in ticket revenue per week before a single drink package, specialty dining reservation, shore excursion, or casino chip is purchased. Onboard spending adds another 30 to 40% on top of ticket revenue across the fleet. Royal Caribbean Group reported $4.3 billion in net profit in 2025 from ships, but the debt load required to build and operate at this scale is staggering. Carnival Corporation carried approximately $28 billion in long-term debt as of 2024. One bad year, a pandemic, a major accident, a sustained fuel price spike does not hurt this business. It nearly ends it. Carnival's stock dropped 85% between February and April 2020. The company survived. But the margin between survival and collapse at this scale is thinner than the glossy brochure suggests. Type 4. The residential ship owner. Stop, because this is the one nobody knows about, and it is the most remarkable ownership model in the entire cruise industry. There is a ship called the World. It was built in 2002 at a cost of $266 million, and it has been continuously sailing the globe ever since. It visits approximately 100 ports across 30 countries every single year. It has a pool, a tennis court, restaurants, a spa, a library, and a marina. And people live on it permanently. The World is not a cruise ship in any conventional sense. It is a residential vessel, 165 private apartments and residences, each one individually owned by a private buyer, the same way you would own a condominium. Apartments on the World range from 620 square feet to over 4,300 square feet. If one comes available for sale, and they rarely do, the price runs between $2 million and $15 million depending on size and deck position. The owners pay annual maintenance fees that cover all onboard services, port fees, and operating costs. They are not passengers, they are residents. They vote on the itinerary, they decide collectively where the ship goes next, and because they own the vessel through a resident-controlled structure, there is no outside corporation extracting profit from their living arrangement. The ship is owned by the people who live on it. This model has attracted serious interest from developers and billionaires who see it as the logical endpoint of the luxury residential market. If Manhattan real estate costs $5,000 per square foot and delivers one city and one climate, why not own $5,000 per square foot that moves to the Mediterranean in summer and the Caribbean in winter and asks nothing of you except to enjoy it? Four Seasons has already announced a yacht, the Four Seasons Eye, at a construction cost of $440 million, launching in 2025, carrying just 95 guests at nightly rates starting at $5,000 per person. The residential ship model is not a novelty anymore. It is where the top of the luxury market is heading. Type 5, the private equity operator. And finally, the owner who never once stood on a gangway and has no interest in starting. Sycamore Partners, Bain Capital, Apollo Global Management. American private equity firms have quietly become some of the most active acquirers of cruise brands over the past decade. They do not build ships. They do not develop itineraries. What they do is identify cruise brands that are undervalued, undermarketed, or financially distressed, acquire them at a discount, install professional management to optimize costs and revenue, and sell the improved asset to a strategic buyer, or take it public at a higher valuation 3 to 5 years later. Bain Capital put up the majority of capital behind Virgin Voyages, the adult-only cruise line launched under Richard Branson's Virgin brand. Apollo Global Management has owned stakes in multiple cruise-adjacent businesses. The private equity model treats a cruise brand the same way it treats a struggling retail chain or a regional hospital network, as a financial asset to be restructured and resold, not a hospitality business to be loved. The upside is efficiency. Private equity operators cut costs that owner-operators tolerate out of sentiment. professionalized management structures that family-run brands never formalized, and bring capital markets expertise that pure hospitality operators rarely have. The downside is that a cruise brand managed primarily for a 3 to 5 year exit is making decisions that optimize for the sail, not for the passenger, and passengers eventually notice. The charter captain owns the risk personally and sleeps fine during a recession. The luxury boutique owner charges $11,000 a night for a suite on a ship carrying 750 people. The mega ship exec runs a floating city that generates $10 million a week from a single vessel. The residential ship owner lives on the asset permanently and votes on where it goes next, and the private equity operator never boards the ship at all. They just own the company that owns the ship, that owns the ocean route. The water is the same for all five. The business is not even close. Which type of owner would you want to be? Drop it in the comments. And subscribe to Cold Doc Explain, because next time we are breaking down another empire, one owner at a time.